Welcome, everyone. It is week three From the Stands College Football Game Day show. And again, we have the same three faces on the screen here. My name is Brian. Joined alongside me is Andy Hopper and Tom Scavetta. Tom, how's it going?
This is how it's going. We're 0-2. We lost to a Sun Belt school. Um, Marshall, it's going terrible, Brian. Thank you for asking. But obviously, I appreciate you having me on as always. And, it's important during times like these to talk it out, right? Figure out what's going wrong with your team, what's going wrong with your school, and how you can move forward from here, knowing that your season is over 2 weeks in. So that's something that I look forward to discussing.
That does seem a little bit harsh, but I understand the feeling. Andy, you've been on the road all day. Was the traffic worse than Tom just made Notre Dame's season sound like?
A little bit, I think, but holy hell, Tom. Yeah, I hate to just stomp on your grave and laugh at Notre Dame, but it's actually really fun. Um,
Oh, man.
uh,
I had to get that out there before somebody else did. I'd prefer it coming
no,
from me.
you beat me to it. I wasn't gonna say season's over. I think you guys could still go like 9-3 or 10-2 or something. We'll see how Drew Pine does at quarterback. I'm feeling good. Illinois is 2-1. They beat Virginia last week 24-3, which I really thought that they were. I didn't understand why they were favored by 4.5. They ended up winning pretty easily, and they could have scored a million more points than they actually did. Quite a few mistakes. That's the one thing I'm not liking from this team through their first 3 games is they are really turnover prone on offense. But I'm feeling great. Like I said, I'm just literally just in my door from Indianapolis, ready to go. Excited to be back for another week.
Very quickly, did you think at any point that you would have the best record of all the teams on the show at any point in the season?
Yes, I did because I thought we were going undefeated and taking the whole championship. No, absolutely not. I
Uh,
did not think I would have bragging rights at all at any point. At any point, not and I mean, listen. Let's say Illinois marches into South Bend or Notre Dame marches into Champaign. I do think the Irish would be victorious. I think UCF could probably beat us too,
I
but
don't know about that one.
uh, I love it. 2-1 really should be 3-0, but I'll take 2-1 for the moment.
All right. Well, with that out of the way, we're going to skip weekly recap. I think everyone knows what the big storylines were from this past week. We're going to move into,
Absolutely.
indeed, we're going to move into our first segment. We're going to do a little hurry up offense, 5 quick answer questions for us. We're going to start with our first one. Andy, we'll start with you. Scott Frost finally fired. Long time coming.
Absolutely long time coming. They've been calling for this guy's head for a season plus. Just want to say, is first time in show history that a one of our like way too early predictions comes true before fucking October. Because mine
Yeah.
did. I predicted Scott Frost was going to get fired. Did I think they were going to lose to Georgia Southern? No. Did I hit on Georgia Southern money line? Absolutely, I did. What a game. But yeah, long time coming. I think Nebraska is one of those fan bases, and we talk about this a lot in college football, whose expectations are here when they should probably be pretty low. They're just one of those schools that thinks they should be in the conversation for the national championship every year. They just hold themselves to a little bit of higher standard than they are, and Scott Frost did not get them where they thought he was going to. I mean, I don't even know if they ever should have fired Bo Pelini.
Funny you should say that because my take on this, there was a stat line that after their week one loss to Northwestern, Scott Frost's record with the Huskers was 15-30. Bo Pelini got fired after going 67-27. If Frost would have won his next 50 games in a row for the Huskers, he still would have had a worse record than Bo Pelini. So that Georgia Southern game was really just the nail in the coffin there. Tom, what are your thoughts?
Well, Frost is frostbite at this point. 16-31. Does he belong at a G5 school again? I don't even know. I mean, I think the 2017 undefeated team at UCF is well done, over with. You have a VHS type of quarterback in Casey Thompson. So Scott Frost is fired. Andy Hopper is correct, and Nebraska moves on.
All right. Moving into our second down topic here. We have new transfer portal rule change. The NCAA D1 Board of Directors voted to approve. There's basically 60 total days throughout the season in which a player can now transfer. It started in August for this current season. They'll get 45 days beginning the day after the college football playoff is announced, and then also from May 1st to May 15th, which I'm guessing is like a very specific recruiting timeline there. And then if a head coach is fired mid-season, players will also get a 30-day period where they'll be able to enter the transfer portal. Tom, you like that?
Sort of. I mean, so it's 60 days each year that players can enter the transfer portal. And I know there was something like a 2-week window in May they were talking about as well. I think May 1st to the 15th, something like that, like right after the NFL draft happens. So I don't think players should just randomly enter the transfer portal. I think there was some reasoning behind this by the NCAA. I don't necessarily think it's a bad move. So I'll say I'm for it, but I'm not really convinced either way, like super for it or super against it, if you know what I mean. I'll say I'm slightly for it here on this one.
All right, Andy, you like the change?
I'm kind of with Tom here. I'm a little indifferent. I do like that they're setting some parameters because it has felt like at times this transfer portal has just been, I mean, it really has been the wild, wild west. Like if pretty much anything goes. And now, especially with the NIL, and you see guys like, Jordan Addison, who makes a move from Pitt to USC that was almost 100% fueled by money. I guess maybe that helps curtail that a little bit. I don't know. I'm okay with it. I no real opinion here.
Yeah, for me, the big thing, I mean, I'm glad it's not like an entire season long thing, like you said. It was just all willy-nilly players left and right switching schools. I still probably don't even know all the players who've changed schools up to this point. Like still discovering new ones every day. But the one thing I am appreciative of is that they did that little 30-day window if a coach is fired. That's kind of my biggest nagging issue with these kind of things is that coaches will, recruit. Oh, come here for the money, come here for whatever, and then they just up and leave mid-season because they got a new contract. So at least the players can now do something and get out of a sticky situation if that happens. Moving down, third down, we have Ohio State. They're getting their All-American wide receiver back. Smith-Njigba is back from injury, and they are also getting Julian Fleming back from injury, they think, this week as well. Is this now the most dangerous offense in college football, Andy?
It's definitely up there. You're talking about bringing Smith-Njigba back with Marvin Harrison Jr., who had one of the games of his life last week. If you look at what he did, I know it was against Arkansas State, so not a really huge opponent, but 7 receptions for 184 yards and 3 touchdowns. So on the year, he's at 12 receptions for 240 yards and 3 tutties. Already bested what he did all of last year for Ohio State. Bringing a guy like Smith-Njigba back, I mean, we've seen how explosive this guy can be and just the plays he can make. I don't know if I put them at the very top, but they're top 3 in my opinion.
Tom, I know you like Smith-Njigba.
I do, and he's very good, but no. To me, the answer is no. They're up there. When you beat a crappy 0-2 football team by 11 points, you're not the most dangerous offense in college football. C.J. Stroud did not impress me in the Notre Dame game. Yeah, so to be a little bold, guys, I think Michigan might have the most dangerous offense if J.J. McCarthy turns out to be this special player that Michigan's building him up to be in the Big Ten. I get it, weak opponent in Hawaii, but I'm not so sold on the Buckeyes right now as a lot of people are. Again, like I said, that crappy 0-2 football team, you barely skated by them. So, but I think they're up there. I think they're top 3-4 offense for sure.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I do think it's probably a little too early. One of the most ironic things is actually that Kansas has the highest scoring offense in the nation right now. But I mean, as a team to get him back, this team is so loaded. C.J. Stroud has struggled a little bit, but he's still one of the Heisman favorites. Trayvon Henderson, I love him as a running back. He's one of the top running back prospects in all of college football, if not one of the top going into the next draft. And then, your All-American wide receiver back, and like Andy said, Marvin Harrison has been there to pick up the pieces while, those injuries have been in place. But yeah, you're getting what was 1,500 plus yards of receiving offense back onto the team. So that always helps. And then we're going to move on to the next one, our fourth down of the quick hitters. We have Sunbelt Funbelt. Few upsets. Tom, I know you probably don't want to talk about one of them very much. But yeah, the Sunbelt had an amazing week. Incredible all across the board. App State, Marshall. And then, we got some fan favorites from past years. Tom, is this the most electric G5 conference in college football right now?
Yes. I don't want to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it. Marshall over Notre Dame, 26-21. I actually missed the game. Thank the Lord. Unfortunate. Tyler Buchner's out for the season. Drew Pine is in. Marshall makes a statement and eliminates Notre Dame's college football playoff hopes. The best for them now is a New Year's Six Bowl if they, beat these teams like USC, Clemson, etc. App State over Texas A&M on the road. Are you kidding me? I think that might be more of an upset than Marshall over Notre Dame. I think people were, being Notre Dame to be this big beast. But if you go in and beat Texas A&M on the road, this has a Michigan feel type of game where they upset Michigan several years ago with that blocked kick. You guys remember that. And then Georgia Southern, out of all teams, gets Scott Frost fired. Man, like those three things combined really stuck out to me with the Sun Belt. They are the hottest G5 conference by far.
Yeah, I mean, we have, Coastal Carolina, who is the darlings of probably the past 2 years or 1.5 years at least, the Mullet Men. Went 12-0, had 3 top 25 wins in that 2020 season. App State has been a neutral fan darling ever since they beat Michigan when they were still an FCS school at that point. And now they've taken down Texas A&M, probably the most hyped team in an off-season period that I can think of in, at least the last 5 years, with the way, the NIL and the money and the Saban versus Jimbo fights were going. Marshall, obviously, the win against Notre Dame is huge, but they've also in the past beaten Cincy, Purdue. They took Virginia Tech to triple overtime in Blacksburg just a few years ago. And they have a winning season 8 of the last 9. And then Troy, who's playing App State, they're on our card for Games of the Week this week, has beaten a ranked LSU. And then most notably, I think this maybe, I guess the App State win, because it's a win, is the highest, but I would put this right underneath it. The 2016 Troy team took Clemson to the final minutes of the game. I think they lost by 6 points in the dying seconds. That was the Clemson team that won the national championship. And then like you said, Georgia Southern finally gets Scott Frost fired. So, a lot of these teams are now household names. People know them. So this is not a nobody conference anymore, and the action is just electric every week. Andy?
I mean, they call it the Fun Belt for a reason, folks. They get rowdy over there. I thought it was funny so Clay Helton, former USC coach, is now at Georgia Southern. He was the first Division I head coach to get fired last year, or maybe Power 5 head coach to get fired last year. And he now beats Scott Frost and causes the first Power 5 firing of 2022. You talk about Marshall. I mean, Marshall coming in to South Bend and just really not looking intimidated at all and being pretty dominant in that game. But I think, Tom, you're right. The most impressive out of the three is App State. I mean, they just went and beat was A&M 5 or 6? 6?
6.
So they just went. Either way, they just went and beat a top 10 team on the road, an SEC team. And I have to blame it on that just awful, corny, gross, viral video of the yell leaders at Texas A&M that came out from the night before the game. Like, just gross, Texas A&M. Like some of the cringiest things I have ever seen. But I love the Fun Belt. Absolutely agree. They are the best G5 conference currently.
And then for our very last one, we're going to do a very quick betting action. I noticed 3 of these games had the exact same money lines. I think the the USC Fresno State one is moving a little bit, but all of these were minus 11 at one point. If you could only pick one of these bets, boys, which is your best bet? Oklahoma minus 11 versus a Scott Frostless Nebraska. Notre Dame, who's going to be very angry, versus a porous Cal defense. Or USC minus 11 versus Fresno State. Obviously, USC trying to show their way into the top 4, that college football playoff spot, show the committee what they're worth. Tom?
I'm taking the Sooners, and I'm taking them convincingly over Nebraska. I get it. Notre Dame's pissed off, as they should be. I'm taking the Sooners. I don't trust Notre Dame being 0-2. I mean, you can't trust a winless team to cover an 11-point spread. I'm sorry. And then USC over Fresno State. That's kind of USC will win the game, but I don't feel as comfortable with that spread as I do with Oklahoma over Nebraska. And I do think Oklahoma has college football playoff potential this year after what's happened in the first 2 weeks of the season.
Andy, what's your best bet here?
Yeah, when I first looked at it, I kind of was thinking what Tom is. I think Oklahoma just goes and absolutely destroys the Nebraska team that is now without their head coach. But I mean, could be a bunch of egg on our face. Maybe Scott Frost was just a problem the whole time. They come out and just look competent. But just to be different, I'm going to go USC. Fresno State actually took Oregon State, I think, to overtime this past week. Gave them a pretty good game. They have Jake Haener back at quarterback for the Bulldogs. But I really like what Lincoln Riley's got going so far at USC. The Caleb Williams, Jordan Addison connection is a beautiful one, my friends. Trojans roll over Fresno State.
Yeah, I actually like all 3 of these. I do kind of agree with what you said, Tom, but I think Cal is not a very good team. So I like all 3 of these if I could put them on like a parlay card. But
parlay them all.
But yeah, I have to go with Oklahoma as well here. Not just saying that because they stole our QB, and I'm trying to, follow his glory, I guess. But the Nebraska coach that took over, his name is slipping my mind right now, Mikey something or other. He basically said day one when he went in, the first thing they did is they moved the DC to only coaching the safeties because their secondary is so god awful. They've been getting torched. They let up 600 yards of offense from Georgia Southern, which is if you're letting up 600 yards of offense against Georgia Southern, be afraid of what Oklahoma's going to do to you. So yeah, I think Nebraska's in disarray. I think they easily cover 11 points here. And we're going to move on to our games of the week, our shots and chasers. Game we were just talking about, Nebraska versus Oklahoma in the 12 o'clock slot. Andy, who you taking?
Oklahoma in an absolute rout. I mean, I would love to see some fight from the Cornhuskers. I do actually really like Casey Thompson. I think their offense has the opportunity to be pretty explosive. It's just they have not been able to stop anybody on defense for the past, I don't even know how many years. I don't know if this is true. I think I heard Will Compton from Bussin' with the Boys say it, but Nebraska is like one of the only schools in the country that only has one defensive backs coach. Maybe that could have something to do with the poor safety and secondary play. But I'm going to take Oklahoma.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, and it's a shame, too, because the Cornhuskers have a great running back. I mean, Grant, over 400 rushing yards already and 5 TDs on the season. The offense is not the problem. The defense is. But you have Marvin Mims you have to worry about. Man has 2 touchdowns already on the year. Sooners defense has only given up 8 points per game the first 2 weeks. Give me the Sooners.
Yeah, Sooners, like I said, in a rout here. I think we knew that this was going to be a sweep. Complete disarray, interim head coach. Nebraska, 124th in the nation in total defense. So I don't know how you stop an Oklahoma team that is based around their offense. We'll move into the chaser for noon. We have Syracuse versus Purdue. Andy, you guys stole Syracuse's QB, and he's doing pretty well for you. Who are you taking in this one?
Tom's favorite, the Paisan, the Italian stallion, Tommy DeVito. Purdue, Syracuse. This is an interesting matchup. So what you're getting, I mean, Syracuse brought like almost their entire defense back. They've looked very strong to start the year. Obviously, Garrett Schrader still under center for them. Uh, I love Purdue's offense. I got to be honest with you. They bring over Charlie Jones from Iowa. He's now Aiden McConnell's number one target. They're going to throw the ball 50 goddamn times, then just air it out. Where's this game being played?
Carrier Dome.
Yeah, Syracuse.
I'm going to take Purdue. I'm going to ride with the Big Ten. I'm going to take Purdue.
All right, Tom.
I'm also taking Purdue. Aiden O'Connell to Charlie Jones. Really good replacement for David Bell. Jones has 4 touchdowns on the year already. I like O'Connell a little more than Schrader. Purdue does carry that loss to Penn State, so that should carry some weight into this game. Plus, we talk about that elite Boilermakers offense against the elite Syracuse defense that has only given up 10.5 points per game. Usually, an elite defense beats an elite offense, especially at home. But in this situation, I'm taking Purdue. Something just tells me Syracuse has a little bit of a downfall, and Vegas doesn't miss often. The line is only 1 for the game, and Syracuse's favor at home. That should tell you something, folks.
Yeah, that's why I put this game on the card because, that 1-point spread for me was a little unexpected. But yeah, I mean, like you guys said, Charlie Jones, not only is he Aiden O'Connell's number 1 target, he is actually his childhood best friend, which is sort of what made him transfer in from Iowa. He's already got 21 receptions, 4 touchdowns through 2 games. Schrader's been a pretty good replacement for DeVito in Syracuse, but I have to go with the Boilermakers here. I like them better as a team. I like their offense better. And cherry on top, Syracuse, I don't know if anyone has seen, they're going with Color Rush, all orange head to toe this weekend, and I absolutely hate Color Rush, so I cannot root for Syracuse at all.
Well, I hate you, Brian. If you hate Color Rush, I just can't.
The NBA turned me off of it. Some can look good, but not always. Moving into the 3:30, we have Oregon taking on BYU. It's a ranked versus ranked matchup. Big win for BYU over the weekend. They're going to Eugene, Oregon. Andy, who do you like here?
Man, I really want to pick the Ducks, but Bo Nix is just terrible. I'm going to go with BYU here. They've impressed me through the first couple weeks of the season, especially last week, taking out a very good Baylor team in overtime. So, they're going to have to bring it if they are going up to Eugene, because Autzen is going to be rowdy for this game. It doesn't matter how good the Ducks are; their fans are going to bring it. But I'm going to take the Cougars.
All right, Tom.
Yeah, Bo Nix is very overrated, transferring from Auburn to Oregon. I don't like him. Again, BYU coming off an exciting double overtime win against Baylor on the road. They're on the road again this week, and Oregon is favored by 3.5. One player that does concern me for the Ducks is their tight end, Terrence Ferguson. 2 touchdown receptions on the season, but I'm rolling with the Mormons here.
Yeah, that line, I think this is also going to go on my card. BYU plus points, because I also like BYU to just win straight up here. They do go to Eugene. They're not going to get that mammoth presence that their crowd brought last week. You could see it causing a lot of problems for Baylor's play calling. And this BYU team, they run such quick offense. It was giving Baylor a ton of problems, especially on the D-line, but basically the entire defense. They couldn't get the plays in time. And I don't know if you guys saw the clip. They got taken out. They zoomed in on one of the D linemen. He's looking to the sideline for the play, couldn't get it in time. Play's already over. So he just turned around, gave the bird to a sideline because they're not getting the plays fast enough. So I don't know if Oregon's defense is going to be ready for that. And Tom, you said it probably way more nicely than I would have, that you just don't like Bo Nix. I hate Bo Nix. I think he's an awful player. So I don't see the offense getting much done. And BYU is, I think, the pure favorite here. I don't know what Vegas is smoking. And then for our chaser in 3:30, we have App State taking on Troy. This is where College Game Day will be. App State is going to be ecstatic coming off that great win over the weekend. Andy, what's your take?
How is App State not ranked after going on the road and beating a top 5-6 team in the country? Like, I rank them, you cowards. I'm going to take App State. I am a little nervous that they will be a little bit hungover from last week. Kind of what I mentioned on last week's show about Florida playing Kentucky, which I was right about. But I'm going to go against exactly what I said. I'm taking App State, but I can see them kind of starting this game a little sluggish. I mean, because it's just so hard not to after such a big win like that.
All right, Tom.
So my take might be a little surprising. I like Gunnar Watson a little more than Chase Price. As a quarterback, that's the surprising part. The non-surprising part is that I'm taking App State here as well. They're at home. Again, they should be ranked, as Andy just said. Andy, we're 4 for 4 again. Wild.
We're just really like 2 peas in a pod these last 2 weeks, Tom. I love it. It warms my heart.
I have to go with App State. Yes, they're coming off their biggest win in a decade, which might slow them down. So much energy expended. But Boone is going to be absolutely bumping. I'm sure you guys saw the fans just absolutely pour into the streets after that win. It's a great atmosphere there. I love their campus. It looks so nice. But yeah, the atmosphere is going to be amazing with College Game Day there. And listen, Tommy, I don't know what you're looking at, my man. The QB play has been very suspect for Troy. Gunnar Watson, yes, he has 5 touchdowns, but he's got 3 interceptions. It's not a great ratio. I'm bringing it back to the 2021 show. You guys bring the ratios back.
Calling me out here.
Yeah, 13.5 point spread. So I Vegas very right on this one. I think App State dominates, and this is just going to be a fun one for the fans. Moving into 7:30, we have Texas A&M coming off that massive loss to the team we just talked about, taking on ranked Miami. Tommy, on your NFL show, you're talking about a little QB in this game that you kind of liked. Do you like Miami over Texas A&M as a whole?
So Texas A&M's favored by 6. They dropped to 24. I think these rankings are a little misconstrued a little bit. Again, the first few weeks, teams are going to be jumping all over the place like a hot potato. Van Dyke versus Haynes King's a QB. Haynes King, Tyler Van Dyke, yeah. Miami's giving up just 10 points per game on defense. They're elite, but Texas A&M giving up just 8.5. I like Parrish Jr., those 4 rushing touchdowns. Again, I know Miami's ranked higher, but give me the Miami Hurricanes in an upset on the road over Texas A&M.
All right, Andy?
As long as there's not another cringy midnight yell video that comes out, that guy should never be allowed to hold a microphone ever again. Like, seriously. I'm actually going to take Texas A&M here. I think they bounce back, and I think they bounce back in a big way. I think Jimbo, after last week, has absolutely gotten in their ass. I bet they've had a tough week of practice. I saw something on Twitter that say Max Johnson might be in the mix this week. Yes. I definitely want to keep an eye on that. But I'm going to take the Aggies at home for a huge bounce back. I'm not buying that Miami's the 13th best team in the country.
Yeah, so the story, there's reputable sources, several of them, that say that Max Johnson is going to get the start. It hasn't been confirmed. I'm sure the leak has led Jimbo to not say anything publicly, but yeah, it could be a big change if Max takes over for Haynes King. King won a 3 QB battle in the spring, but he hasn't performed well at all in the first 2 outings. 2 interceptions against Sam Houston. Don't want to be doing that. And then he goes with 0 touchdowns, 97 yards against App State. He has the lowest QBR among all SEC QBs. But Miami is going to be missing their leading wide receiver and Tyler Van Dyke's roommate, Xavier Restrepo. He's their slot receiver. He's actually really, really good. I love that kid. He looks great on the field. But he's gone. So, Miami lost its other top 2 wide receivers to the draft last year. They're going to be hurting. It's going to be all up to the run game for them with Henry Parrish Jr. If Max Johnson gets the start, I'm taking Texas A&M here. And then a fun one. Texas A&M game starts at 9, so if you need something fun to watch before then, starting at 7:30, we have Maryland versus SMU. Tommy, this one's also on the board for you because there's 2 quarterbacks in here that the Giants also might want to take a look at, Tanner Mordecai and Talia Tuivailoa. Tom, do you like either of them, and who do you like to win the game?
I don't like either of them for the Giants. But do like what Mordecai's done in the first 2 games. Almost 700 yards and 7 TDs, very impressive. But give credit to his wideout, Rashee Rice, almost 300 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns in 2 games. I like the Mustangs here on the road in an upset over the Terps.
All right, Andy.
I'm with Tom. Pony up. I am not sold on Maryland. I haven't been sold on Maryland for a few years now. I've seen Talia Tagovailoa play with these two very eyes, live and in person. Wasn't impressed.
Yeah.
I'm going to go SMU. I think a lot of points are going to be scored. I'm going to take the over here as well.
All right, yeah, I'm going SMU as well for the sweep. Mordecai transferring from Oklahoma and now has 50 career touchdowns. That is a lot, but I guess Tommy, it's not enough for him to think the Giants should look at him. But yeah, both of the offenses can score. Both average over 500 yards of offense, so this is probably just going to be a late night shootout here. Over under 70-30, and I would probably still take the over. But to win the game, I'm taking the Mustangs. And that is going to wrap up our show for the week. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the games, everybody. We are signing off, and we'll see you next week.